Tonight, we take a trip down memory lane to the creation of FSA. We will highlight our current member count, and we will reveal what's ahead on the roadmap. All of this and more in 20 seconds. Hey, fellow fanatics, welcome to the Fanatic Real broadcast sponsored by Football, Darts, and Fantasy Sports Alliance. I tell you what, that song hits a whole lot different whenever you got headphones in. Kevin, how are you tonight?
I am doing fantastic. I'm living the dream over here.
I love that new shirt you got on there. Kind of matches my
Thank you.
shirt. Yeah,
A little
looks real
bit.
good on you. A little bit. Hey, before we get too deep into the show tonight, we have definitely got to thank our broadcast sponsor, Football Darts. Football Darts is a dart game that combines the skill of traditional darts with the strategies of American football. This innovative dart game is played on a uniquely designed multiple target dartboard. It can be played in sports bars, at tailgate events, as league tournaments, or as a leisure activity in the comfort of your home. If you would like to check out their officially licensed collegiate dartboards, go to footballdarts.com. And you can now enter the promo code I play FSA, and you get 30% off your order. Included in the board will be 4 darts, pins for positions, and a rule book, everything you need to play it right out of the box. And also, don't forget that they are a sponsor for us outside of just a broadcast sponsor this year. And whoever ends up winning the game, the bowl game that they are sponsoring, will get a custom-made dartboard, just like you saw there, except for with your team's brand on it. And thank you very much to Football Darts for coming back. Also, thank you to these guys. This past Friday, Brad and Josh did a breakdown of all of the fantasy news that's going on. You can catch them anytime on FSA's Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter feeds. You can catch their same shows over on Anchor FM, which is their podcast feed, which is the Empty Wagon Fantasy Football Show. If you aren't already following the Fantasy Sports Alliance podcast feed on Anchor FM, make sure that you do, because when the 2001 season officially begins, the Empty Wagon Fantasy Football podcast will be found under the umbrella of all of FSA streams. So make sure you go out and give all their shows a watch or a listen. And then you can find them on their social media outlets, which is at Empty Wagon FF. Each of the guys, Brad, Josh, and Eric, have Twitter handles that are coming across the bottom of the screen right now. And if all else fails, you can always go out to FSA-FR.com and check out all of the stuff that is there and find them. Kevin, how was the Average Bros show last week?
It was just about average, as we aim for. Talked about a lot of good fantasy knowledge as far as tips and tricks and vocab ahead of the season. So getting ready, getting ourselves warmed up after a couple months off.
Did you get a lot of good questions?
Yes, we did. It was a lot of stuff that I had not thought about before, so it was good to review.
Such as? Like, what was the things that stuck out in your mind the most?
Drafting strategies, when and why to take players in certain areas, things that might go through your head, but you never really say out loud to put a why behind you take a quarterback in rounds 3 and 4, or can you take a tight end in round 1, and who should it be, stuff like that, for those who don't know, that have not drafted before.
So Maria says that it was helpful. We know Maria just joined FSA last year, first time ever playing fantasy football. And she did so, and I'll put her business out there. She played last year without ever watching a single football game last year either. So, and she did well for a rookie. I mean, not bad. So I'm glad you guys were able to help her out, especially if she says that it was helpful. Eric out there saying, is anyone here? Of course we're here, Eric, and welcome to the Alliance, man. We appreciate you being here. Mad Scientist on saying, let's go. Sean Purcell on with us tonight as well. Sean, how are you? Hey, I see it's already coming across the bottom of the screen there. So you can now find all of our broadcasts on 3 different platforms. You can see us on Facebook, YouTube, and now Twitch. And if you haven't already liked, subscribed, or follow us on all of our social media outlets, make sure you do that. They're coming across the bottom of the screen right now. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and then all of the places we just said that we have the broadcast and of course the podcast, which is a audio version of the same thing that you're going to be watching tonight. You'll be able to find that out on Anchor FM. So make sure you go and subscribe to us out there as well. So, see, top of the show, we said that we were going to take a trip down memory lane to some of the creation of FSA. I think the way that's going to go is like you're going to kind of interview me tonight, which should be interesting. Try to get some questions answered. Probably a really good night to do this, actually, especially since we got a couple new people on that are out there, Eric being one of those guys, right? So probably a very good show. Bill says you're wearing the wrong FSA shirt. I don't know if it's because I don't think anything with Walter on it is ever wrong.
I don't know how anything with wrong.
Exactly. Anything with Walter on it is good. But you said you were going to do that. We said probably in conjunction with that, we're going to reveal the roadmap ahead, what we're looking for 2021. You know, we're not even there yet. We've had membership open for 30 days, right? But we're going to talk a little bit more about 2021, and we'll talk about some 2022 stuff as well. Damien says Easter Walter feels fitting. So we did do a Mick Walter shirt in our store. Are we going to do an Easter Walter shirt as well? I don't know if that will work or not.
We probably will. We got to put them out there and, make them feel festive.
So we're being told that Walter is green screening a bit, and that's not what we call it here at FSA. Those stars are twinkling on Walter's hat. That's what you're seeing. That's not the green screen at all. That's just the stars twinkling. But before we get into the memory lane and the creation of FSA, the other thing we said we were going to talk about was membership, right? So let's talk about membership and where we're at. We are officially have been open for 30 days, right? So we opened membership for the 2021 season on March 1st. Today's March 31st, so 30 days. The wish was 96 teams for redraft. We're currently at 48. So we're halfway there already 1 month into it. So that makes me feel pretty good. We put a deadline on getting everybody signed back up for Dynasty as well. And we got our last two people that needed to sign up, Mondo and Erica Gutierrez, which are from the recast. So we got them back in today. That puts us at 48 out of 48. And we only had one orphan team from a rollover after all of our first-year players. So that's awesome. Currently, we're sitting at 11 out of 12 in Echo.
What?
Echo.
What?
Echo.
I didn't know that was a thing.
It was a thing as of today. So for all of you who have been asking, I still can't believe we did this, right? There have been a lot of people that have been asking for an Echo League, right? And I kept saying we weren't going to do it because I thought about the amount of work that it was going to put me, how much I needed to do and to go along with it and stuff like that. But you can't deny what the fans want. The fans wanted an Echo, right? So a couple of weeks ago, I had already made up my mind that we were going to do Echo. I just haven't put it out there for anybody, right? So we did. There was quite a few people that had asked for Echo. And what we did is last night, we kind of gave first dibs to the people that have been asking for it for a while, right? What we are doing with Echo, though, is we're not getting any duplicates from people who already have dynasty teams inside of FSA. What we wanted was new members to come on board, or people that were already playing on another platform in FSA, but weren't playing in a dynasty with us. So people that were in redraft, QB54 arm and leg league, or any of the other various leagues we have, and get them to come on and play in the dynasty format. So we opened it up, and it's crazy to say we decided to do this about this time last night, roughly. So in about 24 hours, we've been able to fill all but one spot of Echo. And if you're out there watching this right now and you're not already playing in one of our dynasties, reach out to us. Echo is open. We got one more spot left to fill. So we are going to fill that. Again, please, only those that aren't already playing in a dynasty come on board to fill up that last spot. For those ones that are out there that are already in dynasties, hold on to what you got. Maybe more to follow. I don't know what this means exactly. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't read.
Can't read that either. I don't exactly know what that says, but yeah. Eric says the Echo Dynasty future champ here. So Eric, we hope so. I do like this one. Sean's got a good one there. What the foxtrot? I like that. I don't know what that means either there exactly. But hey man, we got to get back to these membership numbers. So 48 out of 96 on the redress, or 50% of the way there. We're 48 out of 48 on Alpha Bravo Charlie and Delta. We're 11 out of 12 on Echo now. The QB54 on Leg League is now up to 19. That's 3 more from the last time we were on. Auction IDP is setting steady at 11 out of 14. You just need to get 3 more teams to get in that. I'm pretty sure there's no reason why you can't fill that, especially since your auction IDP is going to be a live auction, and we can do that closer to the season start. So for you to get 3 more people to fill that won't be a problem, right? And then the DOD grew by 5 since the last time we were on air. So we're sitting at 12 people in the DOD league right now. What excites me the most about that is members that are coming on board that I have no connection with, either from the VRV or from any of the other military members that are already in the league. So we've got an Air Force guy, we've got 2 Navy guys now, we've got 1 Marine, and then everybody else is on the Army side. So it's really nice to see that expanded out into the other branches of service as well. So, and also definitely we cannot forget this. Bill says, don't forget about King of the Castle is going to be on fire. So, you know what? That probably is a good segue into what we're about to talk about next, because I'm pretty sure I could find a way to bring King of the Castle into whatever the heck things you're going to ask me in this interview. I'm nervous. Like, I've never been nervous really for an interview, but coming from you, I'm a little bit nervous about what you're going to ask me. And so we're trying to take a trip down memory lane to the creation of FSA, right? So
that is correct.
Before there she is. Jenna, how are you? Both Kevin and I were talking before we came online that we were hoping that you would come online. So in fact, Kevin reached out to the guys that are working on your jersey right now because he would like to get a jersey as well. And I did not hear from them today, and I was supposed to. So I will be giving them a call tomorrow to find out what the status of your jersey is. And I'm glad you're on right now because I wanted to make sure that you heard it from me that I am going to make that call tomorrow. So, did I miss Marvin's there? Yeah, we definitely. Marvin, also appreciate you. Welcome to the Alliance, man. And then this is the next thing I was going to say. Absolutely. Please ask any questions while Kevin's interviewing me. Anything that you want to know about FSA, especially if there's something that he brings up that you want more clarification on, please ask. And then I don't know, Kev, if you want me to run the comments. You want to run the comments? We can both run the comments, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, I can run the comments here.
Okay.
So as we mentioned, we're going to take a trip down memory lane, right? So we want to start first off with how FSA came about, then the current state of FSA, then we'll follow it up at the end with where FSA is going. So with that being said, what led you to make FSA? Where did the idea come from, and how did it become a conglomerate like it is now?
So the initial start of FSA, 1993, a lot of you already know that because we've got it all over, everything for our branding established in 1993. Kind of a crazy story. I'll keep it PG as much as I can because there is leaning towards rated R going along with the story, honestly. So I had played in fantasy golf and fantasy baseball before with my dad. And I had done quite well in those with him, and to the point where we've won golf videos, free golf videos, like golf lesson type things on VHS. This shows the age of how long we've been doing this. VHS, and then league fees or green fees to be able to go out and play golf. And then baseball, I think we won a little bit of cash with our local newspaper or something like that. The girl that I was dating at the time, I was still a senior in high school. She was a freshman in college. She had come down for the weekend, and she was taking some kind of psychology class that was, I don't want to call it a sex psychology class, but I don't know how other way to describe it. She had to write some paper that had something to do with sexology or something like that in the world of psychology. I can't even think of what I'm trying to say right now. So she needed to go to the local bookstore and buy a whole bunch of nudie magazines. I mean, I don't know, it's the cleanest way I could say it. So she's there at the counter buying one of everything that's behind the counter. I'm embarrassed. So I walk away. And me showing the nerd or the geek in myself, I go over and start looking at the Dungeons and Dragons books that are sitting over there. And I keep looking over my shoulder because I'm looking for something specific to show you. And I couldn't find it at first. There it is. And I see this sitting on the shelf, Fantasy Football Abstract 1993. And I open it up and I start flipping through it. And I see that it's a book about running a fantasy football league. And we had done so well in the baseball and the golf one. I thought I'd give it a try. If nothing else, I'd read the book, right? It'd be something interesting to read because at the time I didn't even really watch football. Didn't really know a lot about football. I was a very big baseball fan at the time and decided to buy that book. And kind of the rest is history. I graduated high school that year, went to the same college as the same girl that I just mentioned in the story. Decided I wanted to do this as a thing to try to bring people together in the dorms. So like we used to do when we were in college, we would post flyers up, just something printed on a piece of paper with a little tear away, call me at this telephone number kind of thing. And I had people around a couple different dorms give me a call. And we got 8 people together and we went into one of the day rooms that they had there and we drafted a team, drafted our teams in 1993. 93, 94 were not successful seasons because anybody who's been to college knows what English 101 and 102 are, lots and lots of papers to write. So there was no internet back then like we know it now. So I was buying USA Today's and doing all of the numbers by hand. And that took a lot of time, and trying to do that on top of doing papers just wasn't going to happen. So 93, 94 didn't happen. We came back around in 95. Had our first successful year. And other than years that I've been deployed or were in basic training, we've been running and we've been running straight through without any interruptions since 2012 now. How I decided to do it as a conglomerate, there was a time in about, wish I could tell you the year off the top of my head, but I want to say it was like 97, 98, 99 timeframe. I decided I wanted to break these into 2 different leagues. In each side of that league, we even called it the NFC and SFC, Northern Football Conference, Southern Football Conference, for them to draft from individual pools of players. And then we would have this big game at the end between these 2 teams. And that was the first year we did it at 24. We took a step back, I think, probably for a year or 2, back down to 12. We got it up to 16 for 1 year, 1 pool of NFL players for 16 teams. And then, there was something. I couldn't tell you exactly what the catalyst was. We went to 4 regions of 8 teams and then 4 regions of 10 teams. And since those years in that 2012 timeframe, we just kept growing and growing. I think probably what made me springboard this into a business, though, is I decided to go out and Google the name Fantasy Sports Alliance one day. And I found 2 other people that were using the name. And I went out to see what it would take to trademark the name, and got with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office and trademarked the name Fantasy Sports Alliance. So I knew it would be mine. And then it was a couple years after that, I decided to turn it into an LLC because I wanted to make sure that FSA funds were separate from Brian funds, just for a business standpoint. And and that's pretty much where we're at now. I think I'm looking at my my certificate for the trademark name. I think that was 2014, and I think the LLC came along in 2017. So yeah, and Jenna says, and I don't know if she's still out there or not to hear me laugh at this. She said Dungeons and Dragons and sex don't belong in the same story. I might differ on that one with you.
So we have a question coming in from the fans. They want to know, in the past, obviously been around since 93, first, as we call it, successful seasons, in years to follow. In that time frame, over 25 years, Brian, how many championships have you won?
I knew this is what was going to be brought up, and Jenna asked a few minutes ago what was I laughing at. That was the comment I was actually laughing at, was this one, because I was hoping it wouldn't come up. I've never won my own league in all of the years that I've been doing this. Even when we only had 8 teams in a league, I have not won my own league. So anybody ever says, hey, the commish rigs this league or any of these leagues, I can promise you it's not rigged, because if it was, I would have at least won one of these things. I've been there 4 times, but I've never won one. Closest year I'd say I would have, I did lose one season. This was, I think, the very first year the NFL did the 2-point conversion. And there was a 2-point conversion along in that game that ended up costing me the championship, where I think I lost by 4 points. And then in 2010, we did something a little bit unique with the league, where everybody played everybody every week, kind of like an all play. We did do head-to-head that year. But once we got to the playoffs, we did head-to-head. And what we decided to do was use 2 weeks of NFL play to satisfy our championship game that year. And I actually ended up, I think we had, might have been a year where we had 20 or 40 teams. And I ended up getting the finals against my dad. And I was ahead of him. It was a ridiculous amount. I want to say it was like somewhere between 40 and 50 points going into the second week. So he was going to have to make that up and then score more, right? And he sure did. And I think he ended up beating me by like 7 points or something like that. So 2 of the close ones. And that was the year. I've said since I've made this thing that anytime I win one of these things, I'm going to go out and get a tattoo of my logo on my body, right? And you all know that have been with us for a while. I switched my logo from the Nightbreed, the little tiny miniature helmet that you see over my shoulder, to the Monarch. So even the logo has changed. I went with the Nightbreed for 25 years and then just recently switched. That was the year I was getting a tattoo, right? Even Dad called me up and congratulated me. Hey, you're finally going to get that tattoo. Congratulations. And then it didn't happen. Soul crushing is what I can tell you. Jenna, good night. Thank you for showing up. And I'll give the Jersey place a call tomorrow, and then I'll call you tomorrow and let you know what's going on with it.
So we know 25 years plus been in business, FSA trademarked, Fantasy Sports Alliance comes together as a conglomerate, and things start to roll. And I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these things just alone on our broadcast tonight. For those who don't know, who is Walter? What is he, and how did he come about?
So it's funny. I really don't even know how Walter came about. I was working on making business. I hadn't thought about this in a bazillion years, man. It was probably like 98 or 99 when I came up with this idea. I decided to start making business cards for myself. Cardstock paper. I was working in a print shop, I think, on campus at the time. Was building them in whatever WYSIWYG program that I could find. And I wanted to have a logo on there. And I found this clip art of this wizard. And I wish I could show it to everybody right now, what the original Walter looked like. That'll be a good one to bring up on another night. It was just a line drawing of this wizard. And I decided to color him myself. And the colors blue and brown came together. And then no psychology behind the blue at the time. It just kind of worked out later that when you go out and you look at colors behind logos and the meaning behind them and stuff like that, that it was perfect that we picked out blue for Walter. And I had that logo and was using that logo until I think I moved to Hawaii in a PCS in the military about 2013. And I thought that was an outdated logo and it was time for me to change. And we did. And I found a logo that I liked, again, not colored, and I went out and colored it myself and added the blue to it. And for those of you who have FSA jerseys out there, the only run that we've done of FSA jersey so far, the Walter that's stitched on your jersey right now was the second Walter that we ever created. And then the Walter that we have now, this was actually not was not going to be the third generation Walter that you guys see here. I had actually reached out to another graphic artist in Canada who had worked on a Walter for me, and we put a lot of time into it. And I was probably only about 85% happy with it, happy enough that I was going to roll with it. And I came across Chris Smith, the guy that ultimately ended up designing Walter, through another guy whose name happened to be Chris Smith as well. And Chris Smith, not graphic artist Chris Smith. The other one actually runs a fantasy hockey league called Ice HL, great fantasy hockey league that's out there. And he produced a yearbook every year, and he would have these logo contests, and that's how they would come up with the logos for the teams. It was really fan driven, that league was. And I had read in there about all of the different graphic artists that had created this works of art for these teams. And I reached out to every single one of them. And I said, hey, here's what I'm doing. I would like to see if you could put something together for me about how much it would have cost and stuff like that. And Chris literally put this together in about a week for me, and fell in love with it. And in fact, this design is the original, but these are not the original colors even. Again, it's probably something else that I'd show you guys sometime. There was yellow in this at one point as well, before we decided to take the yellow out of it. And I think there was less or more beard. I don't remember. A little bit changes in the design. But
You
yeah,
can
we
never
came up
go
with
wrong
this.
with more beard.
Yeah, more coming from you. So, and this was the design that he came up with, and it's funny because my wife was with me through the process of the Walter that almost was just before this one. Same kind of feeling, it's good, but not exactly, but it'll work for now, right? And she saw this one, and both of us just fell in love with this one right away. Which then also led to all of our regional logos that we have. That could be left for another night as well. Chris designed every single one of those too. His work is great. You guys were sitting on Discord with us a couple nights ago when I kind of ran through the history of some of the logos, what the blue line drawings look like that Chris originally did, some of the iterations that we went through, those color differences that we went through, and before we got what we've got for each one of the regions now. He's out of Pennsylvania, great graphic artist. Yeah, and I think when we finally go to do our final two regional logos, without a doubt, he's going to be the same guy we go back to get the last two.
So you already kind of mentioned it a little bit, but I'll add a little bit more context, right? So we have Walter, who visually is on our shirts on the wall behind you there. In addition to that, everybody that signs up for our redraft league, right? That's 96 teams this year, does get their own brand, their own logo done, either by yourself or something with your help that they bring in. But on top of that, they get funneled into this year 8, 12 region, uh, 8, 12 team regions, right? So all of those regions also have a running theme and logo behind them. What brought that about?
I literally did a year and a half of research on figuring out how I was going to break these regions apart. I had maps of climates and census bureaus and mail things, like where the mail districts are broken down to in the United States, time zones. I mean, I map overload. If you could see the map folder that I still have from all the original maps, Division III and Division II college sports and how they're broken down and stuff like that, where the fan base was for NFL fans based on Facebook and who follows what. Facebook did for 2 years in a row these maps. I think it was like 2015 and 16 or 14, 15, something like that. So literally a year and a half of research to break down the map. And then in that same time, I'm looking for what can I use as a logo to represent those regions. The whole reason the regions came about was it was kind of a borrowed military idea. Every military unit has some kind of identifier that goes along with it, right? The 101st has the Screaming Eagles. The 82nd is the All-American. We have the Big Red One. We have all of these different things in the military, right? And I wanted to do something like that because I wanted people to have ownership or pride in the region that they played in. Everybody competes inside their region, and I wanted that rivalry to be built, just like for people who follow the Big Ten versus the SEC or something like that, right? I wanted that same type of thing. And I was having a hard time coming up with, well, what animal really best represents this region with all of these different animals that are there. How can I make it consistent across the board? And I was literally climbing into the shower one day, and it hit me. The fantasy football has been called the Dungeons and Dragons of for jocks. You've heard it probably quite a bit. And we already had Walter the Wizard as a logo. So I thought, why don't we do a mythology theme with each one of these regions? And I listed a big long list of mythological creatures. Didn't necessarily mean Greek mythology or Roman mythology. I mean, we've got a couple Indian mythologies that are in here too. And I made this list and I said, how can I fit some of these to each one of these regions? And that's just kind of how it fell into place. I actually wrote what I call my defense paper, single spaced, of why these regions are called what they are, how it represents that particular region. It's 5 pages long of why they are what they are. There was a couple of them that I struggled with to try to come up with a reason why. It was actually my son Taylor who helped me come up with 2 of them. And his reading of mythology himself that said, no, Dad, you can use this because wild boars being one of them. And that's kind of how it all came about.
Damien chiming in saying that the Appalachian region is the best out of the group that we have. I may have to agree if it wasn't for the Chris Betts winning outside of our region this year.
Yeah, he did have a good year this year. It says, I'm off to bed. Have a good one. Welcome all the newbies. Yes, welcome all the newbies. Thank you. You've joined a great place. Glad to have you here. I can echo that. Absolutely, yeah. Your brother Josh asked an interesting question. He says, back when FSA began, who were the top players on your first ever fantasy team?
Well, one I know of.
1993, I ended up drafting Emmitt Smith. It was the year that he held out for, I don't remember how many weeks he held out. We'd have to go back and look, 2, 3, 4 weeks or something like that. He was my very first pick. I think I actually might have had the number 1 overall pick. I didn't keep the draft from that year. Of course, 93 wasn't a complete season. But if you go to 1995, our first complete season, I told you I hand jammed everything back then. I have all of those papers still. I've got them in a folder right here behind me. Every year until we went digital is behind me in hard copy, some way, shape, or form.
And I know one player that you tried to grab for multiple years in a row was Curtis Martin.
Curtis Martin. For those of you that can see my Jets football right over my shoulder right there, signed by Curtis Martin. I got that helmet. That helmet that's right there in the corner, signed by Curtis Martin. I don't have the football card signed by him close enough to me, or I'd grab it right now. Yeah, for many, many years, I tried to get him. His rookie season, I was lucky enough to get him. It's funny, I watched him. This is back when he played for New England, your team. They were playing Miami in a preseason game. I watched this kid play. He's out of Pitt. He was a good runner. And I thought, you know what? I'll keep him on my radar. I get down to later rounds and I need my third or my fourth running back. I'll pick up this kid, Curtis Martin, right? And what was funny about that was when I looked him up, I couldn't find him because I was spelling Curtis with a K. And it took me a long time to find him for me to get my pick. And I picked him up. It was the only year I had him. Still my favorite player to date. And I had him just for 1 season.
So you mentioned a little bit ago when we were talking about the different regions and people having some type of connection to them and wanting their region to win once you get into our world championship setting. So we have a ton of people checking in with us. Bill saying Appalachians, the SEC, the FSA. Heather saying go.
Yeah, definitely South Atlantic. I mean, it's not by accident that South Atlantic kind of matches with the SEC either, right? And we have the largest population down here too. And competitive all years, always good years. Jonathan on with us tonight. Jonathan, how are you?
And then Josh saying, coming from a newly transferred Bills fan with your Jets talk.
Yeah. It's been a sad state of affairs for the Jets for a long time, ever since the butt fumble and probably even just before the butt fumble. But I've stuck around with them. The story behind that, and this is getting a little bit more personal and not FSA related, but back when I was in college, I was the assistant sports editor for the campus newspaper at Bowling Green State University. Bowling Green plays in a Mid-American Conference. And the sports editor had the opportunity to go up and do the preseason MAC conference up in Detroit. So we go up there. We're in the Silver Dome or whatever they call it, the Lion Stadium now. Back then, I think it was still the Pontiac Silver Dome. We go up there, and every one of the teams that were represented in the MAC needed to send a player from their team for an interview And back then, Marshall University was still in Mid-American Conference. Randy Moss had just gone on and got drafted into the NFL. Chad Pennington, the quarterback, was still there. And great interview. Awesome interview. One of the best sports interviews I've ever had. And just kind of stuck with me. And, he gets drafted by the Jets. He's on the Jets. Curtis Martin leaves New England, goes to the Jets. And that just kind of became my thing. And good or bad, I just haven't let him go until this year. I started to loosen the reins a little bit and start following that Bills team.
So we have a check-in from Mario, who is new to FSA, and he says that his friend joins the last spot in Echo. I can confirm Echo is now full in just over 40 or 24 hours. That fills. I will have a little bit more information on that for anyone that is not in Echo to stick around. That I do have an announcement in a bit once we get into FSA's future. So more in the past, right? We're bringing it, starting to get into present times here, right? So FSA is built. We're moving through to the regions, right? And we start to look at what FSA comes to be about, say 3, 4, 5 years ago, present day. How did the Phonetically Real broadcast come about? What we're doing now tonight live.
We did one show a bazillion years ago. I keep using the word bazillion. You go out on YouTube and probably find it. I could even tell you the very first year we did. Well, this is season 7, right? This is our 7th season of doing shows. And I think we consider that one show that we did that one year, season 1, episode 1, and it was the only one that aired, right? It was actually my wife's idea, I think. It was either a draft order that we did that year, or maybe I had done a draft order a previous year, but she had mentioned it. It was actually her idea, I think, was originally did it. And somehow I started mid-season. Again, she'd mentioned a year or two, and then maybe the next year, hey, remember when you used to do that show? Why don't you do that again? And, I picked it up in mid-season of the NFL, week whatever. You go back and watch those shows as well. And it was more about NFL news. And we were doing it on Periscope, but not the Periscope we know it as of now. Periscope, your broadcast only stuck around for 12 hours. I was using 2 different cameras at the time. One was my phone, which was Periscope, that was doing it live, and then a family video camera that was recorded on an SD card that slid into the computer, did some editing, and put it up. For some reason, it only allowed me to do like 8 minutes and some change. So if the show went over 8 minutes, I had to edit it and stick it up there. And I think it was the year after that that I decided, you know what, the fans are paying. It was about the time we started doing the pay to play. They're paying for this. They can get their NFL news anywhere. They don't want to listen to me talk about that stuff. So I wanted to do something for the fans, for them, for their teams. We've got these brands created, these team names created for them. We wanted to give them lip service for what's going on with their team. So it was probably 4 years ago, we decided to start doing the broadcast where we focused on what was happening in the competition of FSA. And, that's grown. You've seen draft selection shows now. You've seen live drafts now on this. And, it came down. You go out to YouTube. If you're not already watching this on YouTube tonight, if you're watching on Facebook or Twitch, go out to YouTube. And you'll see that very first episode that we did, and we call it cringeworthy because it really is. When you look at how bad the cameras were back then, and the angles and all of that stuff, it's horrible. It's very bad. But yeah, here's where we're at tonight. Phonetically Real broadcast, episode 3, 7 seasons now, and on top of the Phonetically Real broadcast, we got the Average Bros show, we got the NBA Wagon Fantasy show now. It's amazing to me, and right now humbled because we hit 12 out of 12 in Echo in literally like 25 hours. And it puts us at 150 members now for the year, 150 teams. We won't say 150 members because some of you, thank you very much, are purchased across multiple leagues here, but 150 teams. And we only had 144 last year from all of our recruiting efforts. And here we are, 6 more than that already, and 30 days into our fiscal year, into the recruiting season. Just super humbled. Thank you all.
So you already brought it up once a little bit there. we do now have the Empty Wagon guys as well as the Average Bros, right? Additional shows on FSA. Um, Tell me a little bit about how the Empty Wagon guys came about.
Uh, so just as I was on my way moving here to Georgia, which is where I'm now stationed at for the military, I'm in the Augusta area where the Masters will be played in about 2 weeks. Um, Driving here from Texas, I had been talking with former business partner, and we were trying to figure out a way to get connected with some kind of veteran organization. And we had already connected with veteran-owned businesses or veteran-owned business VOB, but they weren't really doing much for us. We had basically like a classified ad that was on their website for FSA, and there wasn't really a lot to it. And we decided to do a whole bunch more research for veteran organizations, and we came across something called Veterans Referring Veterans. And I happened to be driving from the Augusta area back west across the state, north of Atlanta, to meet what at the time was going to be a potential sponsor for us. And she was on board with us for a year. And on the way back, I saw that this VRV, Veterans Referring Veterans, went live. And I followed this guy. It's a little over a 3-hour drive. So I watched this guy's show. And after he was done, I sent him a message. I said, really great show. And he said, what are you doing right now? And I said, I'm on a 3-hour drive. And he says, call me, and gave me his telephone number. And I called this guy, Justin Clark, and we talked the entire drive, the rest of the way back to Augusta. An amazing dude, retired Air Force guy. And he put this organization together to try to get veterans to come together who were small business owners to help each other out grow, and for outside agencies who were fans or wanted to help veteran organizations to come together. And he sold me on the VRV. It's a membership organization, and I bought into it as soon as I got back to the hotel, because we were still living in a hotel at the time. We hadn't got our house yet. Bought into it. And the story goes along that he talks to his wife and says, I got this guy who signed up that runs a fantasy football business. I don't know how to help a guy like that, because the majority of the people in the VRV make something, right? They produce something and sell it. And he's like, I don't know how to help a guy who does entertainment like this, or I'm trying to think, I can't think of the word right now, but so I'm in. He comes to me. He tries to make calls to his VRV people to let them know if they've made some kind of connection to help them out, right? And one of the guys that he had served with in the Air Force, Josh Hughes, was doing a broadcast called the Empty Wagon Fantasy Football Podcast. And he said, you two should connect, and gave each other contact information. And I called up Josh, and great relationship there. And we talked for a whole season, maybe even close to 2 seasons. And he kept saying that he wanted to do something with FSA, wanted to come under the umbrella of FSA. And I really thought at that time they're big, right? So I thought I would be doing them a disservice for them to come up underneath our umbrella. And that's why I didn't jump at it right away. And then it just so happened, it's kind of how you and I met, right? So this kind of goes down memory lane of how you and I met. Eric on with us tonight says that Josh Hughes guy is trouble. He absolutely is. Eric, how are you? Welcome aboard, man. So Eric, one of the trio from the Empty Wagon Fantasy Football podcast, show. I don't know what we call it now. We got to figure out what that looks like right now. So you were actually doing something called Agree to Disagree. Great show in its own right. Huge. And you had actually talked to myself and the Empty Wagon guys about us maybe getting together and doing a show and being under the Agree to Disagree platform. And offline, me and the Empty Wagon guys talked about it, and we thought that we could probably do the same thing, and we could take the money that Agree to Disagree was going to charge us for studio time, and we could invest that money into ourselves and do something. And Josh basically says, that's what I've been talking about for the last 2 years. That's what I wanted to do with FSA. And then it kind of made sense to me that, yeah, that was what we should be doing. And we came up with this, and we started laying the groundwork for it. And I had a thought while I was driving around on base during lunch one time. I wonder if Kevin would like to get involved in something like this. And being completely transparent, forgetting that conversation that we had already had together with you about coming on to agree to disagree. And you and I had a great 30-minute conversation. And you had asked me, what's my vision? What's the mission and what you see and stuff like that. And you were semi-impressed to the point where you decided to come over and work for FSA. And I'd like to say the rest is history, but man, it's just every day we make history with this thing now. Tonight we we filled another dynasty league that I didn't even want to have in 25 hours. The Empty Wagon guys are on board and they're freaking amazing. Their show is always great. The guys are just amazing guys, great family men, and to have you and your brother on with us now, it's so humbling to sit here and think that we have 150 teams in 2021 already, and we've been open for business for 30 days. And it's not just the guys that we've mentioned already tonight. It's people that are still sitting out there watching it right now. If you've made it this long with us too, the Damians, the Marias, the MJs, the Shawns, again, all the Empty Wagon guys, yourself, everybody who's been pushing this, Toby, Randy, Rocky, all of these guys that push to whoever will listen to try to recruit them into this thing. And it's all of those people that have actually got us to this 150. It's humbling, super humbling.
So then we get into present day FSA, and I want to do a quick recap of the numbers once we talk about everything that we have already under the umbrella. We already mentioned the Redraft League, the roots of what FSA is, right? Our goal for this year is 8 regions or 8 leagues of 12 teams apiece, which brings a total of 96 there. We now have, as of about 10 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago, we have 5 12-team dynasty leagues, which stick around, I will have another tidbit there, but 5 dynasty leagues with 12 members all signed up under the umbrella. On top of that, through your outreach, we mentioned the veterans referring veterans and all the great work that they do, as well as yourself, the Empty Wagon guys, all being active or former military members.
All active still. All 3 Air Force active duty guys.
Yep. That moving forward, we now offer a keeper / POS, if you will, for those in military speak. A partial keeper league, if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Okay. PCS, not POS.
Peace.
That's that's 2 different things. That's 2 different things. So yeah, the new DoD league that we've got, the Veterans Referring Veterans Department of Defense League. The reason we came up with that was because of our connection with Veterans Referring Veterans and Justin Clark. And the way it kind of happened was I wanted to bring FSA style fantasy football to Fort Gordon, actually as the base. I went to the MWR people that are here and wanted to try to bring our style of fantasy football here. I figured that when you crunch the numbers and you look at the percentages of people who play fantasy football versus a population, the math made, Eric's not wrong. POS is probably right. Depends on what duty station you end up in after you PCS. Yeah, could be. But the numbers are right. The dollars that would be coming in for both FSA, but also more importantly for the MWR as well, I thought would made a lot of sense. But even though gambling, and I put that in quotes, right, is deregulated outside of the walls of the military, it's still considered gambling inside the military. So they weren't interested, right? So I stopped pursuing and pushing that thought. But wanted something slightly different. We've got the redraft, we've got the dynasty. I know we're going to talk about your auction league here in a second. We've got the QB54 arm and leg league. And I wanted to do something different. And I thought I couldn't take fantasy football to the military. What if I get military to come to fantasy football? And I reached out to VRV for the help. And it's a partial keeper league. You'll draft 24 spots in the DoD league. You have to be current or former military to play in this. So it is just for service members. 24 on your roster, 8 starters, no kickers, no defense, no trades, no waivers. I wanted something completely different. It's for the people that are getting into this. They're not fantasy football experts, right? So it's almost like a good break-in league for these. And then it's just also another spot for just us military people to get in there and just do like we do and just talk a lot of crap to each other, because that's just what we do all day, every day. And I wanted to do it across all the branches, and I knew that Justin had that reach to be able to get us there. So it is partial keeper league. You're allowed to keep 3 players year after year, up to 3 years. Then the 4th year, every 4th year, you're forced to PCS. For those of us that are in the military, we know that's a permanent change of station. It's not really permanent because you're really only going to go to the next station for 3 years usually and then leave again anyways. But we wanted to do it on a 4-year rotation. So the teams that are in there now are creating the units that are going to be our units that will be used for people to PCS into. And when we relate this to what this looks like in the military, I go into a duty station, say Fort Gordon, and while I'm there, I see people leaving PCS away from me. And there are a group of soldiers that will probably be there with me the same amount of time that I'm there. Those are my keepers. Those are the people that I get to keep and choose. And then at the 4th year, mostly in the military at the 3rd year, but in FSA will be the 4th year, we PCS to a different team, different duty station, because these teams are going to be logoed and named off of actual military units. So when you PCS, you're actually taking over somebody else's team. Once you go to that team, then you're picking which keepers that you want. And then you're taking over that team. So basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to build a championship team within 4 years before you PCS again. And there's things that go along with that, right? The draft order is going to be reverse draft order based on potential points from the year previous. But when you keep players, you don't pick a player in that round that you chose them in the year previous. When you PCS, we're trying to give it the real military feel, where we will do this algorithm in the background, so we already know where everybody's going to go. And we're going to actually type up orders like you're actually leaving the team or the unit that you're at and the next one you're going to go to. And then we'll reveal the algorithm and how that worked out and why everybody ended up in the spots that they ended up in. So this is our first year. There will probably be some rule changes as we go along. Easier to change rules when it's a partial keeper than whenever you have a dynasty, right? So right now we're sitting at 12, which is about a quarter fill of where I would like to be. And we just need to push harder. So if you're out there watching, listening to this, now or later, and you're a current serving military member, all branches of service, or a veteran, all branches of service, please reach out to us and let us know you're interested, and we'll get you signed up. Sean asked us a question. Sean wants to know how many teams are in South Atlantic right now. Sean, we're at 18 right now. 18 of the 48 are in the South Atlantic region.
So as we look at the rest of what FSA is today, right? We just mentioned the VRV League. We mentioned where we're at in the redraft. Chris reminds us that we did just fill Echo through the 5 dynasty leagues. We have now since doubled our arm and leg league, which is our kickers and defenses, and the addition of the IDP auction league as well. What does that look for in FSA's future? Where do you see us growing in the next year to 2 years? Where do you envision the number of teams going, and what types of leagues do you see moving forward?
I've always got crazy ideas for leagues, right? We kind of talked about it a little bit last night while we were getting together. These zombie leagues, the vampire leagues, this. something that's a little bit more Dungeons and Dragons like Keeper or Dynasty type league that I've been brainstorming with a couple of people in the league, Edward Wright, Matt Furby, and a couple of us that got together and talk about it. Jonathan, hold on for a second. Jonathan says, do you think the military will allow a 40, I'm going to say 49-year-old overweight guy join? That way I can sign up for the DOD league. I do believe that even waiverable, 49 is outside the amount of age. Well, and we don't want to call it age, right? We call it levels. You're level 49 right now, Jonathan. So I think you're too many levels up, even waiverable, for you to get in right now. So
I believe it's 36, correct?
It could be. I think it might be 29 waiverable to 36 or something like that. It changes all the time. You know, when I try to get into when I try to go green to gold and try to go on the officer side of the house, it even changed in the years that I was trying to do that. It eventually became where I was too old to do that too, so I couldn't do it anymore. So what does the future look like? I would love to continue growing the redraft because that's our bread and butter. You know, I've said it a couple times tonight. It's where we got our roots. That's where we were at 27 years ago. I would love to see that double eventually. I don't see us being able to double right out the gate. I can't say, hey guys, we got 96 this year in 2022. Let's make that 296s. I can't see that happening. But I can see us getting the amount of teams where we could possibly start splitting the redraft into two different leagues, almost like the way we run regions right now. We would have to run 2 MFL leagues to be able to handle all of this. Back in our days of Yahoo, when we would have these, 8 region leagues, that's how we had to do it. Like it had to be separate leagues. Because MFL only allows us to go up to 100 teams. Once we reach over that in redraft, we'll have to go somewhere else. DL Knight wants to know what app you're using for this league. So my fantasy league, where we actually run FSA, does not have its own app like Sleeper, Yahoo, or any of those other ones out there. They do have a third-party app. The one that I use is MFL Premium, and I like it a lot. I've never had any problems with it, but I will put a disclaimer out there. The reason I haven't had any problems with it is I usually only set my lineups with it if I'm in a crunch, and I keep track of what's going on with my scores. Chris says Echo has 13. Is that possible?
It does not. It does not currently. I will get to that in a minute anyway. So.
Okay. In fact, as we're talking, I was trying to go out and do this at the same time because what I don't want is, since we've been announcing it, I don't want a 13th team to come along. So let's do this. Let's pause for just a second because I want you to tell everybody about your auction and IDP. Since we're talking about the future and what it looks like, let's talk about now what the auction and IDP looks like and what that looks like for the future. And then we'll come back to mine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go out here and make sure that we don't have an issue with a 13th player trying to join.
Yeah, I don't believe we do, but to touch on the auction IDP, so there's going to be a 14-team auction league in opposed to Snake and Redraft, which is what all of the other leagues in FSA are. Your round by round versus your bidding system. And this will be IDP, so individual defensive players, where instead of a full team defense, you are drafting one defensive line, one linebacker, and one defensive back, either safety or a corner, onto your team. Right now, that is at a standard redraft format to where it will be new team year over year. Looking forward to the future, that will expand. We will have one standard redraft version of it, and then it will move into one keeper as well. One keeper league where we're doing something similar, auction, keeper, IDP. And those teams are going to be based on fictional sports teams' names. So if you are in the auction league already or you are thinking about joining, please send me your team name. I am the Mean Machine. I know we have a couple guys on here already. We've got Sandlot, I know, is taken. Bad News Bears is taken. Mighty Ducks is in there as well. So if you think of your team name, please let me know.
I'm glad you mentioned that about the theme to the auction and IDP league. So those that don't know, so in the redraft, we create your brand for you. In the dynasty, we're doing defunct professional football teams. Does not matter what level of defunct team it is. It could be arena. It could be the AFL, XFL, former NFL teams. I mean, the sky's the limit of what you want. The only thing that we make sure is that that logo is no longer trademarked or copyrighted. That way we can use it without fear of anything, right? So one that was suggested to us earlier today was the Sabercats, which I went out, looked San Jose Sabercats. I went out, I had to do a double search because I was spelling Saber R-E, not E-R. So when I went out and spelled it correctly according to the team, which is ER, I found out they have in fact re-upped their trademark with the team, so we can't use that one. So we'll do the research for you on this side, on the dynasty side, but you can pick any defunct team you want as long as it's not already taken in Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, or Delta. No repeated teams throughout dynasty. And then the DoD league, I kind of already mentioned it as well. You're using actual unit names, patches, logos, crests, whatever you want to call it, that goes along with that unit. And that is what our logos are going to be for that one. So I'm glad you brought that up. So what does the future look like? Well, right now I've closed out Echo. So we don't have any overfill on Echo. Do we do it live?
Yep.
Let's do it live. You talk us through it, and I'm going to go out and do the legwork.
So since we have now filled Echo and it looks like overfilled, although I really don't think so. I think I know what the issue is there. We have filled our 5th dynasty in 24 hours. We are going to open up another dynasty, same format, 12 teams in our Foxtrot dynasty, as long as you do not have a current dynasty team under the umbrella. So that is, if you're in our redraft, if you're in the DoD or anything else we offer outside of Dynasty, and you are interested, please go ahead and sign up once Brian sends it live. But we will now be recruiting another 12 for that.
It's good to go. Foxtrot is live for anybody who's out there right now. Again, like Kevin said, as long as you're not already in a dynasty, please let the new members to FSA or those that are already not playing in dynasty that are playing in one of our other formats already, please give them the first opportunity to go in. If Foxtrot does not fill up as quick as Echo did, and we still have some hanging, we'll call them hanging chads. We're close to Florida. We can call them that. If we still have some hanging chads that are out there, we will open it up to anybody who might already have a dynasty team as well, and then we will get Foxtrot filled as well. So Foxtrot is currently live. Yes, Eric, you definitely got to get in. So, and we were actually worried about you before we came live. Kevin and I were talking about that you were going to miss out on Echo, but please don't miss out on Foxtrot, man. We got to have all of the empty wagon guys in there in some way, shape, or form.
He also asks how many for the keeper league. So it's 14 teams, 3 keepers when we move to that. If you're talking about the auction, I haven't decided if I'm doing 3 or 4. For the DoD, which is a keeper, I believe you're doing 3.
So it'll be 3 keepers in the DoD league as well for the number of teams that I'm looking for. Right now, I've got MFL built for 40 teams. Although I still would love to have 48 if possible. In fact, let's do this. We'll do a little shared screen right now. Shared screen so I can show you all what that looks like. Here is what the VRV DoD League looks like right now. So broken down by each one of the divisions is by branch of service. U.S. Army, Marines, and then, of course, Navy. You can see some of the logos that are already there for the guys that have picked what they want to represent. See the great VRV logo here over on the side, so we can get that out to the VRV, who anybody's interested in seeing what they do. So that is the VRV League right now. Chris asks, Foxtrot is open. It is, again, only to those who don't already have Dynasty first. And then we will open it up to those that do have dynasties if we still need to fill. So the invite, Eric, for the dynasty, go out to FSA-FR.com, go to the membership section, click on the, in fact, you know what? Let's just do this as well. Well, let's make it easy for everybody who might be out there not knowing how this works. All right, so those of you who have not seen the great FSA-FR.com website, here it is, built for us by Brandon Gums, another great member that I met from the VRV. You'll scroll down here to the membership section, scroll down a little bit further, or you can click on the membership button up here in the upper right-hand corner. It's going to take you to all of the different leagues that that the FSA has. What you want to for the dynasty right here is click on Join Now. Once you click on Join Now, it's going to take you to the JOT forms. You're going to fill this out, and then you're going to click on which leagues that you want to join. We have all of them here, and then you hit Submit Form. Once you hit Submit Form, it's going to take you to PayPal. You'll pay that way, and and then we'll get notified by email, and then I will get you over into Echo and Foxtrot. I'll start working on building the FSA pages or the MFL pages for that. I just need you all to start telling me what your team names, what defunct teams you want to be. That way I can start looking them up. If you don't know where to find, how do I get that back up, Kev? I don't know why it's not going back up there for me. Add a stream. There we go.
There you go.
Thank you. If you want to know what other teams that we have already in the dynasty, you can go up here to this fantasy link that's up in the upper right-hand corner as well. This has all of our leagues. So if you can't ever remember how to get to the MFL league and you're at somebody else's computer or something like that, always come back to FSA-FR.com. You go up here to the fantasy and you can click on all of these that are right here. We got Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta, the VRV D League, the QB54 Arm and Leg League, which we haven't spent a lot of time on yet, and then the Fanatically Real Redraft League, which is the cornerstone, the bread and butter. But you can click on all of those and see which logos has already been taken. That way you don't try to take somebody else's logo. And Chris says he's working on getting the channel set up in Discord for us right now for Foxtrot. So that's awesome. So let's talk about the QB54 Arm and Leg League. So that is a league that's nothing but quarterbacks and kickers. You only draft 4 players. You draft it however you want. You could do 2 and 2. You could do 1 and 3. But every week you're going to start a quarterback and a kicker. We changed the scoring system a little bit this year from last year. We also upped the entry from 10 to 20 to make sure we can get some payouts to you all. But what you're playing for is a great set of QB54 Arm and Leg or QB54 chairs. They are the sponsor of the Arm and Leg League, and they're coming out with a brand new game called Ref 54. They made the announcement on Facebook and Instagram at a minimum that I saw today, and they're going to start releasing videos, I think, of it next week. So when we get the video of what the new game is that they have, I'll start releasing it for everybody to see as well. Might be something else that we can jump on board with them as well and see if we can't do something with them with their new game, Ref 54. And man, that's been a lot. We've taken in a lot tonight. We've filled a dynasty league. We've talked about old stuff. We've talked about current stuff. We've talked a little bit about future stuff. We've got Foxtrot going now. I don't know what the future looks like now, man. I don't know how many people we're going to pull for redrafts. I don't know how many dynasty leagues we're going to have next year. Again, super humbling. If you're not already in the auction, the QB54 or the VRV DOD league, and you're a veteran or currently serving, you want to get in on that one, please jump in on those too. And thank you for everybody who filled Echo. Now I got to go out here and meet you all. I got to say hey to you all virtually. I can see who we got now. What else you got, Kev?
That wraps it up for me. I know we've, in the hour that we've been on air here, only created more work for us, so we have to get back into the office.
Oh, yes, it has. It's gonna be it's Easter weekend. I'm spending Sunday away from the computer. I spend it with some family friends. So Saturday, you guys will have me for a little bit. I'll work on whatever we can work on Saturday for you all. I promise. I'll probably be up about 20 more minutes meeting and greeting on Discord. If you're out there listening right now, the 10 of you that are still out there, if you don't know, we have a Discord server as well for Fantasy Sports Alliance. If you're a Discord person, please let us know. We'll get you on there. If you're not a Discord person, download Discord and we'll get you on there. And yeah, you're right. We got more work to do. But the other reason that we got all of this work to do is because we've got great sponsors that want us to do all of this work to make sure that we do right by them. Our sponsors, we already thanked Football Darts at the top of the show, Nature Coast Tailgating, QB54 Arm and Leg League, Shell and Mills Boutique, Cranky Veteran Candle Company, Southern Siren Sugar Scrub, Finger Lakes Mercantile, one of our newest sponsors, Redwood Durable, and then, of course, the Recast, who are the official music of FSA. They are, some of their music is heard during every one of our intros each week. And him and his wife, Erica, were the last two to sign up for the Dynasty. Love to have them on board all the time. Mondo and everybody are great people. I was grilling, do I need to do this job form? Yes, Eric, you need to do the job form. Still need to fill that out because that's how you get to the payment portion after do the job form. Yes, I know I've already got you in for other leagues. Yeah,
he has completed that. He is now in. We have one now. Eric is the first for Foxtrot.
he sure is. Got it. I just got the message. Now I got to make another column on my analog membership book here for Foxtrot. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you very much. Yeah. Hey, so what does the immediate future look like for us? So we won't be back on the air for the Fanatically Real broadcast until the 14th of April. You guys are going to be on the 6th of April. And then the Empty Wagon guys are going to be around again this Friday, going into Saturday, East Coast time, midnight. For those that are on the West Coast, a little bit easier to remember. It's just Friday for you all. But for us here on the East Coast, it's Friday going into Saturday at midnight. However, next week when we're not on air, because we are still doing the every other week thing, right, for the Fanatically Real broadcast, we will be recording a spot, an interview. I'm not really sure what to call it, with a company called Ignite Your Business, which I also met through VRV and Justin Clark. We will be recording that on 7 April with the great people over at Ignite Your Business. And I believe that show is going to air the very next Wednesday, which will be our next show on 14 April. So more to follow on that. I'll let you all know when that is going to air. There will be social media posts that will come out, all created by Ignite Your Business. You'll see them across all the platforms. I think you'll see the very first one on the 5th of April, and I'll make sure it's posted everywhere so you all will know when it's coming. Then we will take, after the 14th of April, we'll take another 2 weeks off, and we'll come back on the 28th of April, which is a Wednesday, the night before the NFL draft starts on the 29th of April. And then we'll be back again on the 5th of May, which is the Wednesday right after the NFL draft. Then we start doing dynasty drafts on 8 May. So basically, if we get Foxtrot filled, I have 4 weeks, 5 weeks to get both of these leagues created with all logos and stuff like that at a very minimum, so we can get these drafts started. So for those of you guys that are out there, might be a little bit delayed on Echo and Foxtrot, maybe not so much for the graphic work, but it maybe even for the draft, to make sure that we got everything set up for it and stuff, to get them going. But soon after the NFL draft, Echo and Foxtrot will be drafting. Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta, you guys are already locked in, starting noon on the 8th of May. 6 hours per pick, with a overnight pause of the clock. So that's what our schedule looks like. Ignite Your Business on the 7th, Fanatically Real broadcast on the 14th, Fanatically Real broadcast on the 28th, Fanatically Real broadcast on the 5th of May. You guys will be back on the Tuesdays opposite of that.
Correct.
So you guys will be on the 6th, the 13th. I'm doing that wrong. The 6th, the 20th. I don't even. I have a calendar right. Yeah, 6th and the 20th.
Yeah, the 6th and the 20th fill out April, and then after that, I believe we are up in the air after the draft. For right now, anyway.
Okay. And then definitely make sure you go out and catch the Empty Wagon guys this Friday. Then, man, it's been a mouthful tonight. Hour and 14 minutes, but it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. For all of you that survived all of this, appreciate you being out there listening to us tonight. Thank you for watching this thing we call the Fanatically Real broadcast and listen about the history of FSA. Thank you to all of our sponsors, especially Football Darts, our broadcast sponsor. If you like the show, please go out, like, share, subscribe, follow us on all of our social media outlets. I think they've been running across the bottom of the show the entire night. I don't know if we forgot to shut them off or not, but they are there. If you're interested in playing in Dynasty and you want to join the Foxtrot and get in there with Eric O'Neill, one of the great guys from Empty Wagon, please do jump in there. He says, "Who now wants to lose to me in Foxtrot?" Get out there and lose to Eric. The challenge has been Eric will probably do pie bets with you, even in the Dynasty League. And if you don't know what those are, make sure you go out and watch their show, and you can see what great pie bets look like.
I'm kind of happy that this happened, and I know we'll talk about it a little bit off air once we go out of here. But I know somebody that is going to be in Foxtrot who is in the process of signing up now that will take up many, many pie bets. So I'm glad to see that happen.
Awesome. Good. I'm glad to hear that too. So, hey, let's get out of here for the night, man. It's been awesome. I can't just tonight. It's time to go to bed. It's time to celebrate with another big glass of water and head to bed, man. Don't forget ever, we are Fanatically Real. You all have a great night.